Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to take apart a Novatec D252SB hub. This is the single speed hub, and the two sort of lock ring things, you just undo them with a 17mm cone spanner. What you'll find is probably one will undo and the other one won't. So you can loosen them off, and then by hand you can unscrew one end. You can see that comes off, and that will show you that you can access the bearings if you need to. Then for the other end, seeing as they're locked on, the trick here I found is to take off the bolt that threads into the axle, take off the little spacer, and then screw that back in. And then you can unscrew the lock nut by tightening one against the other, and that will undo the end thing. So you can tighten this up against the cone or the aluminium cover, and that will undo the thread from the axle, and then you can thread it off by hand. And you can see the bearings, and that will just allow you to be able to pull off the free hub body, which you can then clean. So here I've cleaned everything, taken everything apart and cleaned it, and I'll show you how to put it back together again. So this has 4 pulls, a little spring, and a grub screw that holds the spring in place. So you can choose what lube you want. I've got some Chris King lube, which is a very lightweight lube, so that the pulls don't get stuck in place. You don't want to use a heavy grease, otherwise the pulls will get stuck and won't engage properly. So just use a little bit of this where each pull goes, each of the 4 pulls. Then you can just slot them into place. They're pretty easy. The little amount of grease will hold them in place, but be careful not to drop them. And you'll notice facing the camera there's a little hole. That's where the grub screw goes. So the next thing is to pop the spring over so that it then lies in the groove, with the opening in the spring aligned with that hole where the grub screw goes in. So you just sort of carefully slot that over, and it'll clip into place, and that should make the pulls open out. If the pulls aren't springing in and out, then you've got a problem. Either the grease is too sticky, or maybe the spring's in the wrong place. There, I'm just checking the alignment of the spring so that I can get the grub screw in the right place. Just with a little screwdriver you can push it across so that you've got the gap where the grub screw goes in. And then with a small hex key, I think it's a 1.5 or a 2mm Allen key, you can put that grub screw back in. It was in fairly tight, but you just need to make sure it doesn't undo itself. Just give it a little snug it up. Just check check it's flush with the free hub body, so it's not going to foul on anything. There's also this little spacer that needs to go on, so I just put a touch of this grease on the axle, and a bit of the grease all the way around. Doesn't need very much, but just enough to lube it up on the where the pulls engage on the free hub body. So slide the spacer on, and then the dust seal. So I use a slightly thicker grease on the dust seal. You need to make sure that goes the right way round, and I use a thicker grease on there to try and make it more waterproof. And that's, just slide it over the pulls. You could put it on before you, I guess, put the pulls in place. And then what I've done also, sorry, I guess a bit of, is put a little bit of grease, that heavier grease, but just in the place where that dust seal goes, just to try and make it as waterproof a seal as possible. But you don't really want to get it where the pulls are going to go, so that they don't. So you got the light grease on the ratchet. Then just slide that on, and then twist it anti-clockwise to help. And it should just snap into place quite easily, and should ratchet nicely. So then make sure you get the right dust seal cover, put a bit of grease on the thread. So the one that's just flat goes on the free hub side. The one on the other side, on the disc side, has got a little O-ring. So you just put a little bit of grease on the O-ring and put it into the slot on the cover. Just try and make everything as waterproof as possible. You don't need an excessive amount of grease on there because you don't want to attract too much dirt. And then that just grease on the thread, and then you can screw that up. Then use the two 17mm cone spanners to snug up those two dust covers, one against the other. Don't need to be excessively tight, just enough to so everything holds in place and all the bearings should be free. And then you should be able to unscrew that bolt there. And then you can put the washers back on, and you're basically ready to go. So it's quite simple once you know how to take it apart. Alright, thanks for watching.